Some truths don't whisper. They explode like thunder behind a smile, shattering the illusion you were forced to call reality. And you, the chosen one, you have lived behind that smile for far too long. There is a part of you that everyone sees, the composed version, the one who appears centered, the one who holds the room together when the room is falling apart. And there is another part of you, the part you do not show, the part that wakes at 3 in the morning and whispers a question you cannot answer. Why do I feel so far from myself? Why does the body move through the day while the soul sits somewhere behind it, watching, exhausted, waiting for a permission you have not yet given yourself to feel? That second part is not a weakness. That second part is the truest part of you. It has been knocking for years. And tonight, this is the moment it finally rises to the surface. You already know what I am about to say, because you have carried it in silence. You know the weight of the smile you wear for people who never asked what it costs you. You know the ache of being surrounded and still feeling alone. You know the strange grief of being the strong one in every room, the one people lean on, the one people borrow from, the one they call when their own lives are on fire, and somehow the moment you need them, the line goes quiet. You know the betrayal that did not come with a warning. The friend who looked like family until the day you realized they had been measuring your value against what they could take. You know the manipulation that wore the face of love, the words that were tender on the surface and strategic underneath, the relationships that fed on your kindness like a quiet fire, until one day you looked in the mirror and did not recognize the reflection. You know the words you never got to say, the emotions you had to bury, the apologies you owed yourself but never received, the version of you that was buried alive beneath the role you had to play to survive. And still, you got up. You still rose in the morning. You still answered the messages. You still smiled at the people who had no idea they were the reason you were tired. You did that. And no one applauded it, because the world does not applaud the silent. It only notices when the silent finally break. But I am noticing you now. I am seeing what you have been carrying. And I want you to understand something before we go any further, because this is the part that changes everything. What you are feeling is not a flaw, it is not a punishment. It is not evidence that something is broken in you. It is evidence that something in you is finally waking up. The exhaustion is not collapse, it is a summons. The disconnection is not failure. It is the final stage of a long separation that your soul no longer consents to. You were never meant to live divided. You were never meant to keep one foot in the world and the other foot trapped in the rooms of your past, where old betrayals still sit waiting. And yet, that is how you have been walking, half here, half somewhere behind you, half in your body, half inside an old story you never finished. You have been carrying rooms inside you that no one else can see, rooms that have been locked for years, rooms where you keep the version of you that was hurt, the version of you that was told to stay quiet, the version of you that was made to feel small in the presence of people who needed you small in order to feel tall. Those rooms still exist. They are still occupied. And as long as they remain locked, the energy you need to live the life that is waiting for you on the other side of them will stay sealed inside them, scattered, lost, leaking out through fatigue, through numbness, through the strange sense that you are here but not really here, that you are alive but not fully inhabiting your own life. This is what I mean when I say crossing. Crossing is not a metaphor for courage. It is not a clever phrase. It is the specific internal act of walking through the locked rooms of yourself, of returning to the parts of you that were abandoned in the name of survival, of reclaiming the energy that was siphoned off by people who mistook your gentleness for an endless supply, of coming back into your own body, your own name, your own story, and standing there finally, without apology. The crossing is the moment you stop living in pieces and begin living whole. And the truth is, chosen one, you have been preparing for this crossing for a long time, longer than you realize. Every night you lay awake and felt the weight of your own unspoken truth, you were being prepared. Every time you swallowed an emotion because the moment was not safe, you were being prepared. Every time you forgave someone who had not yet earned your forgiveness, just to keep the peace, you were being prepared. Every time you walked away from a relationship that was quietly eating you alive, you were being prepared. The preparation was not pleasant. It did not feel like growth. It felt like grief. It felt like loneliness in a crowded room. It felt like a coat you could not take off. But it was preparation. The universe was building a crossing inside you, and it does not build crossings without first dismantling the bridges that led you to the wrong side of yourself. You feel it now, do you not? That sense that the old architecture is shifting, that the friendships that drained you are no longer tolerable, that the conversations that used to distract you now feel like noise, that the people who once felt like home now feel like old weather you are finally walking out of. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. That is your inner self refusing to keep funding a life that does not honor it, and that is also why it hurts, because clarity always feels like loss before it feels like liberation. You are not losing people. You are losing the version of yourself that needed them to be smaller than you in order to feel safe. And that loss, although it aches, is the only loss that sets you free. Now I want to slow the pace for a moment, because I'm about to say something important, and I want you to hear it the way I mean it, not as advice, not as a slogan, but as a quiet truth that has been waiting for you. Understanding why you feel the way you feel is not the same as being free of it. You can know the name of a wound and still carry it. You can name every person who ever hurt you. You can understand every mechanism they used against you. You can trace every lie back to its source, and still, the wound remains. Because understanding is the door. It is not the room. Understanding opens the door of recognition. But the room is where the actual crossing happens. The room is where the work lives. The room is where you stop analyzing your pain and begin, finally, to walk through it. There is a difference between knowing and crossing, and I say this with reverence because the difference is the entire point of your life right now. You can listen to 1,000 voices, you can read every book, you can name every betrayal, and still find yourself standing at the same threshold tomorrow morning. That is not failure. That is simply the truth that insight without a structured path stays in the mind. The body does not heal from being understood. The body heals from being accompanied. The soul does not cross from being informed. The soul crosses from being guided, slowly, gently, through the very rooms it has been avoiding. And so I want to tell you about something. Not as a product, not as a transaction, but as a quiet door that has been waiting at the edge of everything you have just heard. There is a guided path called the 7-day ritual, the crossing. 7 days to become whole again. It was written by a man named Douglas Winthorne, whose work does not shout, does not promise miracles, does not diagnose you, does not tell you that you are sick and he is the cure. His work breathes. It is contemplative. It is built on silence, on simplicity, on presence. He does not give you ready-made answers. He gives you a room. He gives you a crossing. He gives you 7 days, each one a symbolic threshold, each one a doorway into a part of you that has been waiting in the dark. The path is audio. You do not read it. You do not perform it. You enter it. 7 guided sessions, each one around 40 minutes long, accompanied by a compact bonus reflection, a PDF summary, instant access, lifetime listening, all of it designed to be walked through slowly, at your own pace, in your own space, with the only requirement being that you show up, even quietly, even imperfectly, even for the first time in years. The path is for people who want to create a moment of calm inside the noise, who want a practice of presence, who want to stop running on automatic, who want to feel what they have been feeling for a long time and have not yet had the space to feel. It is not therapy. It is not a treatment. It is a guided crossing, and it begins the moment you press play. And the 7 days, I will name them for you, not to give them away, but to let you feel the shape of the path, the way each day is a different kind of door. The first day is called water and salt. The second is called the mirror. The third is called the candle. The fourth is called the earth. The fifth is called the coin. The sixth is called the breath. And the 7th is called the silence. I will not tell you what to do with them. That is not mine to give, and it is not yours to receive from a voice in a video. That is the work of the path itself, the slow unfolding that happens when you sit with one symbol for an entire day, when you let it speak to you, when you let it reveal what it has been carrying on your behalf. I will only say this. Each of these names is a key. Each one opens a different room inside you. And by the time you arrive at the seventh, the rooms are no longer locked. They are no longer heavy. They are simply part of the house you have always lived in, finally lit, finally aired, finally yours. I want to be very clear about something, because I do not want you to mistake this. You will not be given a free practice here. You will not be told to take a mirror and repeat specific words. You will not be told how to light a candle, or what to do with water and salt, or how to hold a coin, or what breathing pattern unlocks what part of you. That would be theft. That would rob the crossing of its crossing. The crossing is not a technique. The crossing is a relationship, and a relationship cannot be summarized in a video. It has to be lived, slowly, with someone who knows how to walk beside you without pulling you forward. That is what the 7-day ritual is for. And if something in you is stirring right now the way a muscle stirs before it remembers how to move, then I invite you, gently, to find the first pinned comment below this video. That is where the door is. I will not speak an address. I will not read a link. But the comment is there, and it leads to the only crossing I am willing to point you toward. There is no community attached to it. There is no mission. There is no donation. There is no subscription. There is no other program. There is only one door, and the door is the path. Take a breath. Let that settle. We are not done. There is more to say, and I want to say it slowly, because the second half of this message is the part that lives in the chest, not the mind. You have been crossing all your life. You just have not been crossing inward. You have been crossing cities, crossing jobs, crossing relationships, crossing versions of yourself that no longer fit, always moving forward, always arriving somewhere, and yet always carrying the same invisible luggage, the same locked rooms, the same weight behind the eyes. And every time you crossed outward, you told yourself this would be the one, this new place, this new face, this new beginning. And every time, the crossing outward only delayed the crossing inward, until eventually the universe stopped letting you run. It slowed your steps. It placed a quiet wall in front of you, not to punish you, but to turn you back toward yourself. And that is what this moment feels like for so many of you. The wall is not cruelty. The wall is mercy. The wall is the moment you finally stop crossing the world and begin crossing yourself. And this is where the words get harder to say, because this is where the wound shows itself, honestly. The wound is not what they did to you. The wound is what you did not let yourself feel after they did it. The wound is the apology you swallowed to keep the room calm. The wound is the grief you postponed because there was no one safe to grieve in front of. The wound is the version of you that was taught very early, that your emotions were inconvenient, that your tears were too much, that your needs were a burden, and so you learned to perform steadiness, to perform peace, to perform the kind of person no one had to worry about. And in doing so, you abandoned the child inside you that was still shaking. That child is still there. That child is not healed by your success. That child is not healed by your silence. That child is healed only when you finally turn toward them with the same gentleness you have been giving to everyone else for your entire life. That is what the 7 days address, not as a concept, as a lived experience. Day by day, the path creates a space where that child can finally exhale, where the emotions you hid can finally be felt without being fixed, where the words you never said can finally be spoken, even if only to yourself, even if only in silence. And by the time you reach the 7th day, the day called the silence, you will not be the person who began the path. You will be someone who has crossed. Not perfectly, not without residue, but crossed, returned, restored to a wholeness that does not require the approval of anyone who ever made you feel incomplete. And I want you to notice something. I have not promised you that this path will erase the memory of what was done to you. I have not promised you that the betrayers will finally confess. I have not promised you that the manipulators will apologize, that the false friends will return, that the words you never got to say will finally be received. I cannot promise you any of that, because I do not believe in promises that depend on other people's transformation. What I can describe is the crossing of you, the return of you. The slow, deliberate, sacred act of you coming back to yourself, with all your fragments intact, no longer scattered, no longer bleeding, no longer performing. That is what is on the other side of the door. And that is what the 7-day ritual is built to guide you into, gently, without spectacle, without performance, without the noise of the world following you into the room. You are not a project. You are not a diagnosis. You are not a story to be fixed by a stranger on a screen. You are a soul that has been waiting, with extraordinary patience for its own homecoming. And the home is not a place. The home is you. The home is the version of you that existed before the betrayals taught you to perform, before the false friends taught you to question your own intuition, before the manipulative relationships taught you that love came with conditions, before the unsaid words piled up like stones in your chest, before the hidden emotions became so heavy that you forgot they were even emotions and not just identity. That version of you is not lost. It is waiting. It has been waiting in the rooms you have been avoiding. And the crossing is nothing more and nothing less than walking back into those rooms and saying with a quiet breath, I am here. I came back. I am not leaving again. This is the moment, chosen one, the one you have been circling for years. Not a moment of revenge. Not a moment of exposure. Not a moment of proving anyone wrong. A moment of return. A moment of recognition, a moment in which you stop carrying the crossing as a future task and begin to feel it as a present possibility. You are not far from it. You have never been far from it. The distance was an illusion created by exhaustion, by grief, by the slow drip of years in which you prioritized everyone else's crossing over your own. That ends now. Not because I am telling you it ends, because something inside you has already decided. And so I will leave you here standing at the edge of something quiet, not pushed, not pulled, just standing. The way you stand at the edge of any door that matters. The air changes, the light changes, the body knows before the mind does, and what waits on the other side is not a miracle, it is not a dramatic transformation that the world will applaud. It is something much smaller and much more real. It is the moment you set down a weight you have been carrying so long that you forgot it was not yours. It is the moment you take a breath that reaches the bottom of your lungs. It is the moment you hear your own voice again, not the voice you perform, not the voice that soothes, not the voice that explains, but the voice that simply says, with a kind of soft authority, I am ready. I am ready to come home to myself. The 7-day ritual, the crossing, is waiting. Not for the version of you that has it all together, not for the version of you that is spiritually polished, for the version of you that is tired, for the version of you that is cracked open, for the version of you that is finally willing to stop surviving and start returning. That is the only prerequisite. Tiredness, willingness. The rest is held by the path. You have heard everything I came to say. You have not yet crossed, and that is exactly where you are meant to be. Standing. Recognizing, knowing that the door is real, knowing that the 7 days are real, knowing that the 7 names, water and salt, the mirror, the candle, the earth, the coin, the breath, the silence, are not metaphors, they are thresholds. And the only thing left, the only thing that has ever been left is the first step into them. The first pinned comment below this video is where the crossing begins. Not in this voice, in yours. Slow down enough to feel it. The rest of your life is on the other side of that quiet door.